Hey guys, Louis here from thelanguagescientist.com, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how to learn vocabulary faster. And look, there's a huge problem in the way in which most people actually learn vocabulary, and this is really harmful. This is really a big problem that is preventing most people from actually reaching a fluent level in any language. And so the two problems are, first of all, some people try to learn vocabulary just with lists, or maybe they try to listen a lot, they try to read a lot of stuff. And the problem with that is, first of all, with lists, if you just learn vocabulary lists, you're very good at learning new words, but you're not reviewing the words that you learned on previous days and certainly previous months and previous years often enough to actually for those words to actually be memorized. So that's the biggest problem. Like, I've talked about this in many videos, but the biggest problem in vocabulary learning and language learning in general is not learning new things. It's about long-term retention. How do you remember things long-term? Now, if you're using, books and, podcasts, like you're listening, you're exposing yourself to the language that you want to learn a lot, then it may be problematic because, I see, for example, some of my friends actually watch a lot of Korean drama, like many hours every single day, and still they can't speak Korean. So, exposing yourself to content is not necessarily very useful. It can be in some cases, and I think that I'm going to talk about this in more detail in some other videos. But now I'm going to show you how to learn vocabulary faster, the setup that I use on my computer exactly, and how you can replicate it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is Anki. So Anki, I feel like has been misused by a lot of people. Wait, what's going on? I'm just going to go to Anki. No, not Anki logo. But there you go, just a normal Anki app. So a lot of people actually use Anki, but they don't use it in the right way. I think in the past I have recommended for some people that they actually use pre-made decks. And pre-made decks are essentially, you have decks of cards in Anki that are already made, they're pre-made, and you have a bunch of words. So you can go to, for example, Anki shared, and if you're trying to learn Chinese, for example, you can go here to Chinese, and you have a bunch of pre-made decks with potentially thousands of cards here. For example, this one has 7,512 cards. Some have even more than that. Official Domino Chinese level 1 to 20 complete vocabulary, almost 20,000 words. So this may seem pretty attractive in the beginning because, these people who have made those decks have done basically all of the work for you. And I think for some people it can work, and I have done that in the past. But the main issue with this is that it's just so boring. I mean, just, let me just click on the deck here, vocabulary. This is a sample. This is like the type of words that you're going to get. This is like the flashcards. So you have the word here, and I'm not familiar with Chinese exactly, but this is the word, and you have the sound.
费利克斯在吗?
Alright, so this is another problem as well. Here the audio is clearly computer generated, which is not necessarily a huge problem. The pronunciation is still probably pretty good, but I mean, can you imagine just working through this deck, almost 20,000 flashcards, and it's just flashcards like that? You're going to be spending a lot of time just doing those flashcards, and it just looks so boring. And so that's my main contention here. I'm not saying that pre-made decks are not effective. My main contention is that it's just so boring, and the result of this is that it's not going to be fun, and you're very likely to actually give up at some point, which is, giving up is the worst thing that you can do in language learning. And I think most people actually give up. So the way that you prevent this is you make flashcards using Anki, but you need to use content that is interesting. So you don't necessarily need to use Anki. I'm going to show you the first alternative that can be pretty interesting. And I have a link in the description below for this tool, but let me show you first. Link, there you go. So Link is a pretty good website if you're trying to learn a language and you actually love reading. This is really a tool that is worth actually taking a look at. It allows you to import a bunch of articles from websites. Like if you're learning French, for example, you can go on the French news website, import articles into Link, and it's going to help you to remember the words in that article. So keep in mind that this tool is not free. You're going to need a subscription for it. There's a link in the description of this video if you want to take a look at Link. It's a pretty good tool, but it's paid. I think it's like $5 or $10 a month, something like that. Now the second option here is that you can use Anki, as I said, but don't use pre-made decks. Just use content like Netflix, for example. Here on my computer, I have a video showing you how to, I have a card coming from Netflix, and essentially this is from a Japanese TV show that I was watching, and I transformed it into a flashcard. So what I do is that I have the translation in English here, even though what Panda said impressed you, and then I try to think in my mind, I try to remember, how do I say impressed in Japanese? Now, there are many ways of saying impressed in Japanese, but here what I'm trying to remember is how was the word impressed actually said in this scene, in this particular scene in the TV show. And here I think it was something like 圧倒された. Yeah, there you go. So here you probably didn't see it, but I actually pressed my the space key on my keyboard, and what it did was that it showed me the answer, and it actually played the audio from that TV show at that specific moment in time in the TV show. So this is pretty handy, and now I can say, okay, I knew this, and I'm basically going to go to the next flashcard here. You need to remember, everyone who doesn't lie. 嘘をつかない人をキープしておかないとね。嘘をつかない人間をキープしておかないとね。Alright, so I messed up here. I said 人, but it was actually ningen. So it's pretty much the same here. What I really wanted to remember in this phrase was キープしておかないとね. And so I can consider that I actually know this. There you go. So this is just a very short example here of how you can learn vocabulary much faster, because this is you're going to remember this vocabulary long term, because it uses Anki, which uses an intelligent algorithm that is going to space out the repetitions and help you remember things long term for sure. And at the same time, I'm using Anki to make those. I'm using Netflix to make those flashcards, which is a lot more interesting than just making using pre-made decks or anything like that. So there you go. That was a pretty short video on how to learn vocabulary faster. If you like this video, then you can find other videos and other information at www.thelanguagescientist.com, and I'll see you in the next video.